Live. Hello and welcome to the 81st episode and 149th week of Game Theory Gang. I'm Matty Allen with Tobiwan Hexobi and ChrispyMan of hexfire.io. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome.
I had the link up for the YouTube stream, and it's like maybe a second behind. So all of a sudden it was like, do I have an echo? What's happening? Yeah, what's up, fellas? I'm bummed out, Maddie, and I'm upset. I'm very upset. I'm very disappointed. I'm very upset. You rugged us on Dipcatcher.
Have a seat on the therapy couch.
Thank you, sir. I will pull up a chaise lounge for this one. I was very excited to be on with Dipcatcher. I was in the chat with him when he was doing his historic unstaking stream for team and base, and wanted to share my experience with him directly and ask a couple questions with him. And just to be on with him, I really like Dipcatcher. I met him in person in Vegas. Really admire his devotion to all the things that he puts out in the community. And then nothing. He's 3 hours early. I have no idea until I stumble across it on Twitter moments before the stream. You son of a... But now I understand why it happened.
We had to scramble. We had to catch the dip catcher because he had something come up with scheduling. So
he didn't dip.
He couldn't make it tonight, but we definitely got him on earlier. And that was an outstanding stream. There was a spot about an hour and 15 in, or an hour and a half in, where I was learning so much. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it a second or third time because it was that good. So
I will have to give it a listen myself. I am curious. Yeah. He's chock full of knowledge. It's like him and Crypto Sloth. I would kind of put in a similar category for me, where I have been told this myself, that I talk really fast and I cover a lot of ground and I can lose people sometimes. And I feel like that about those guys. Like, those guys are like, it is so dense with information and knowledge and vocabulary even sometimes, that I gotta like most streams, if I go back and watch them at all, it's like I'll 2x them, or 1.75x them. With those guys, I think I feel like I'd need to slow it down because I definitely have to rewind and like listen to certain parts. Like, oh wait, oh okay, now I get it. But yeah, it's very, very fortunate to have guys like that in the community.
It took me a while because I didn't want to interrupt him when he was on this brilliant, spilling his guts about theories about how to improve liquidity pools. And so whenever you hear me say, oh shit, are you trying to get a Nobel Prize up in here? Then rewind about 5 minutes and you'll see like the part that he was talking about how to improve liquidity pools, kind of issues with liquidity surrounding this tokenized HEX stake, and the way he's thinking about it is definitely next level. So
cool.
Good game theory there.
I'm bookmarking it right now, actually. So cool. Yeah, I will watch that later. Hopefully I can make the whole stream tonight. My back has been not pleasant lately. The good news is I'm on the cusp of making a final decision about some stem cell therapy. The cool part is the place I'm leaning toward is the one that Joe Rogan advocates a lot, but it's in Tijuana, which has like a weird connotation. My sister's terrified I'm going to get kidnapped and murdered, but I don't think I'm what they're looking for down there or anywhere. But basically, the fun part is they take crypto, so it's 15% off if you pay with crypto, and it's not a cheap endeavor. And I will not be selling any of my Richard Hart tokens to do this. But it will significantly cut into my dry powder. So if I elect to do that, but I've got my call with them tomorrow. I've got a couple other places that are in the running, but I'm kind of leaning toward Tijuana at this point to see if I can get a remedy for my failing feeble spine. But
well, the Joe Rogan mic worked out, so
yeah,
hopefully that carries over to stem cell treatment too.
And I can't think of the guy's last name right now, but it's Steve something and Ed Clay are the two founders. And if anyone's interested in this stuff, it's all over YouTube. Sugar Sean O'Malley, the new champ, he just was down there doing some treatments not long ago. He's had all kinds of very well-known combat sports guys, especially football players, basketball players, you name it. And obviously now that I know they take crypto, they must understand crypto to some degree. So, and it's like a 5-day ordeal. So you're there and you're, and I'm going to like meet these guys and whatever. So believe you me, before I leave that
Teach
joint,
them about HEX.
I'm going to teach them about HEX. So
All
hopefully we can
right.
get them on board. But I found out also in my research, there's another place in Mexico. I think it's called Dream Body Clinic, and they're already Hexicans. So they, Randy Hilarski
Oh yeah.
pointed them toward me. Puerto Vallarta, I think is where they are. And they take HEX. But again, I can't let go of my HEX. So, yeah. So
Not
I'll keep you
not
guys
even
posted.
to save your spine. Wow.
Yeah, no,
That's
sir.
dedication. I'm
I mean,
impressed.
if push came to shove, I mean, I'd have to. But luckily I've still got some dry powder on the sidelines. But I think the bottom's in. But we can get there. We can talk about that stuff later.
Let's take a vote. Crispy, you think the bottom's in?
I know my bottom's in. Yeah, I think the bottom is in, but I would steel myself against another 50 to 80% flash crash. Only because those are the types of things that you see. So, I mean, it's crypto. We're about the same time frame as the launch of HEX, right? 4 years ago, almost there. We did feel back then in 2019, the bottom was in. We we're grinding and grinding. And then we got into 20, and then we had the COVID dip, the C dip,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, the dip. The stock market blew out as well as a bunch of other things, and that was unexpected. Will that happen again? I hope not. I don't want to be locked down for another year or two. So I hope that exactly doesn't happen. I hope nothing else terrible happens. But markets do what they do. We could see something.
From recollection, you had to be ready to buy that one. Like
Right.
It didn't last long, did it? It was like a couple days, maybe.
Yeah, I just sat through it. I didn't get ready for it at all, and I didn't. I kept DCAing, but that was it, man.
Yeah, that immediately just makes me think like, okay, well, if we haven't hit the bottom yet, when limit orders, right? It's like, come on, PulseX devs, let's get some limit orders in there because that is a lifesaver in situations where you think you might get a dip and you can't catch it because who's up 24/7? And like I lived the trader lifestyle for a while, like waking up to alerts and stuff, and it's miserable. And I don't want to do that. I don't think most people want to do that.
100%.
And I think, and also it would help with volatility, because it's like if limits are set, then you're less likely to have, giant dumps or pumps, So, I mean, you kind of just take the tops and bottoms off a little bit if you've got people stacking up limit orders here and there. So, yeah.
That's a good idea. Somebody should implement limit orders and single-sided staking on PulseX.
That would be good. That would be good.
Hopefully that sounds facetious.
It's on the roadmap, right? So we'll see when that occurs.
There is no roadmap, no expectations. You received a zero value airdrop and it's up infinity.
That's true.
Stop complaining.
There was a list. And it was on it. And it was in a tweet. So
a list of things that would be cool?
A list of things that they wanted
or a list of things that were being promised?
A list of things that would be cool. So not promises. To not elicit expectation, of course.
That's what I heard too.
Right. Yeah. So, but they would be cool. I would like that very much. I would be highly active with the limits for sure. But
this macro space is really confusing me. I could see it going either way. I hear everybody in crypto. So let me kind of just break down a little bit of what I was thinking going into this like ETH futures thing. I was having flashbacks to 2017 when we got Bitcoin futures and that was the top on the day. And I bought all the way up to 20K like an idiot and then had to scramble to put together more money to buy it down at 3,800 when somebody we know is calling the bottom perfectly. And, now I'm sitting here like, well, the person who calls the tops and bottoms perfectly said 11K in prey. But Bitcoin only fell down to 15,000 previously. And, even Richard said on the Dominic Frisby interview, yeah, maybe only 15 because of money printing. But look, I think the hindsight is so 2020, right? It's so perfect. But at the same time, it's like I've learned some lessons now, and I want to apply them going forward to be able to say that foresight is 2020, to be able to be more responsible with my buying and selling. And so for me, what that meant this week was like, taking the extremely small allocation of coins that I had in Ethereum and converting that back into dry powder, because I feel like if Ethereum rips and goes to new all-time highs, I think that my Pulse and HEX and PulseX bets will then pay off. There's no guarantee, but that's how I'm thinking about, these markets all moving together. So I feel like I have some protection to the upside, but now I also, because I have, whatever it is, 5% of my portfolio on the sidelines now, I could be one of those people that helps support a new bottom if it ever comes in Pulse or HEX or PulseX in that ecosystem. I could help kind of defend the bottom, and if it doesn't work out, well, I guess I'll either buy on the way up frantically like an idiot, or I can, just sit on the sidelines forever and, not invest that until the time is right. But basically, that's kind of how I'm thinking, is that, we had these Ethereum futures get launched yesterday, and that just felt like a repeat of a top I've seen in the past. Now, Dibcatcher and others, are expressing views that it doesn't mean, that the prices can go down necessarily. We're in a lot of ways counting on factors that are unpredictable. However, and it was also cool to hear that his Dibcatcher algorithm that is had so much awesome performance, not just in backtesting, but in the past multiple years of him being able to use it in real time. That's signaling to people that now is a particularly good time to buy, at least based on market behavior. You can't predict what the central bank is always going to do. You can't predict what a billionaire who suddenly gets enamored with Hex and Pulse chain is going to do. You can't account for those types of things, but the Dibcatcher algorithm is at least accounting for the moving all the market behavior that is contained within the trading.
Did you see that Grayscale has also put a new request in to convert their ETH version of GBTC over to ETF as well?
I think that that's particularly relevant. And again, I'm trying to take a balanced view to say, okay, I know spot ETFs are good for the underlying asset because they are settled by buying or selling the underlying asset. That's the difference between futures contracts and futures ETFs and spot ETFs, is that spot ETFs actually have to buy and sell the Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the futures, it's all on paper. So it's not creating any real demand for the underlying asset. What I ask myself when I see that the Grayscale premium for Bitcoin, has come a little bit closer, but is still 25 or 30%, and the Ethereum is the same discount right now. What I'm asking myself is, even though a spot ETF would be good, once that conversion gets approved, is that going to create a short-term dump? Because the price has to meet, and is it going to meet in the middle or is it going to meet to the downside?
That's a good question. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because it's kind of like one of those things where you're waiting on the Fed, and everything. You'll hear the term priced in. Like, what's priced in? So we're not going to get a big move when the announcement actually occurs, because it's priced in, meaning the traders have already kind of driven their stake in the sand as far as where they think it's going to go. So I think that might be a factor this time around. And it's really good that you're pointing out the difference between futures and spot on ETFs, because I myself was not 100% certain on how that worked out until recently, to be honest. And I know that when the ETF futures were launched, that kind of marked the top of the Bitcoin market in 2017, right?
17.
So that's something that, the whole, what's the middle word of FUD, right? Uncertainty. So if people don't understand, then that creates uncertainty, and that could contribute to, some downward price movement where maybe there needn't be any if they fully understood the difference between futures and spot.
Then on the bullish argument, you've got EIP 1559 is burning a shitload of ETH. You've got Bitcoin becoming more and more relevant to, you got MicroStrategy still buying the shit out of it. They've added another $500 million or so to their balance sheet, and haven't stopped buying. So that's bullish. You've got so those are two major headwinds that seem to be in crypto's favor. And then the 4-year cycle. I think money printing probably has to happen again just to keep everything going in America. And so I guess the interesting part about that is that I don't know if we'll get another crisis to justify the printing, or if needing the printing is going to be the crisis.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling that it's going to taper off. It's like I don't know. I mean, we might get one more little bump before the end of the year, but then I think we stay flat for probably 6 months, maybe longer, before they start to reverse course. So maybe by the end of next year, they could start some easing. The quantitative tightening has they got to give it some time to play out and see if it does its thing. You don't want to constantly be moving the levers to see the impact. So they've got to let it cook for a bit at a certain level, is my understanding. So, there's people out there way more well-versed in this stuff than I am. But from what I've gathered from the stuff that I've watched and learned, and my instinct would be that, and the arguments that I've heard to this point, I kind of concur with, which would be they tighten it maybe one more time, one little turn of the screwdriver, and then let it go for maybe 6-9 months. And then kind of reassess during that period of time. And, but by that point, the assessment was essentially that they would be ready to ease at that point. So maybe by next year, definitely by 2025, because they need to get the rates back down around 3%. I think that's the ultimate goal. And that's going to take a while. You're not just going to slash it from 5, whatever, down to 3. So it's going to be incremental, easing. So it's going to take us a while to get there. So they got to start at some point if they're going to try to get us back to 3.
How interesting would it be? Here's yet another angle. How interesting would it be if artificial intelligence and breakthroughs in technology created such a deflationary pressure on Western economies or the global economy that the Fed was forced to money print excessively because there's too much value being created on the production side? I mean, that's a real possibility. That was part of their story for why they were having zero interest rates for so long, was to combat, inflation being too low, and that's risking deflation. And then, all of the assets that the rich people own become less valuable. And of course, this whole story is like sus, right? It's suspect in the first place, but I think there's some truth to it. And so instead of having like a crisis as being the reason for money printing, I would much rather the Fed be like, oh, everybody's too happy and productive, and things are going so well that people's houses are going to be worth nothing, so we're going to print more money and pump crypto just for that. Because that would be a strong sign all around. So
Interesting.
We can only hope, right?
Right.
AI, save us.
I prefer the bullish cases, of course. But I mean, the thing that I lean on is just, I mean, I've only been in since 2017, but from looking at the Bitcoin cycle prior to and since I've been in, it's been pretty predictable. And the thing that I'm really kind of, I've already got my Bitcoin chart all marked up, in anticipation of what is to come in April of 24, which is the halving. And then 6 months from the halving, which is September of 24, which is interesting because that would be 3 years from the HEX all-time high. So not a 4-year cycle, but 3 years. But what's interesting to me about this is that if you look at the Bitcoin all-time high, which we hit the first all-time high that Richard called, that was in April of 21, which was 1 year after the halving, which was in May of 2020. So but there was a significant move 6 months out, which was in October, is when it broke out. So it's like that's when the breakout occurred, was in the end of October, which was coincidentally right before the big payday. And that's when I was hesitant because I saw the breakout coming and thought, is really now the time to dump all of my Bitcoin and Ethereum and Chainlink and go all in on HEX? And I did. And then I watched the breakout that I predicted occur. And it was in October, which was 6 months after the halving, the end of October, which was 6 months after the halving in May of 2020. So that was a huge run. As I'm looking at it here, it's like basically from October to April, which was the next 6 months, it was about a 4x. So, I mean, it was a pretty substantial run from in that next 6 month cycle. So, but there was a little bit of an increase. It's like not as huge. Let me get a number for you. But basically from the halving to that breakout, which was 6 months in, it was a 60% move. So not insubstantial. So, if we're about, so my thinking would be halving, we're looking at maybe from April when the halving hits until September. I would like a bigger than a 60% move on HEX, but it seems that alts tend to dump and pump harder than whatever Bitcoin's doing. So I would be looking for some activity, and we've talked about this before. A minor run up to the halving, a pullback is kind of what the history has shown, and then the parabolic run is usually about 6 months to a year after the halving. And then we had the double top last time too, so that was unique. So so it'll be interesting to see what this cycle's pattern is and how that affects alts, particularly the stuff that we like to talk about.
Yeah, let's go.
I vote for 60x. How about that?
I'd be good with that.
Got to inject some hopium here.
Right.
Though 60% would be a very nice increase. I don't know. Again, it was 2020 was a unique year. So I don't know that we'll actually see a repeat of the action that took place there. And I know I'm definitely in the camp of things usually aren't different this time, but they can look a little different, right? So,
right.
Perhaps, of course, I failed miserably in predicting what would happen in end of 21, 22, right? Even though we'd seen it happen before. So I don't know that I'm a good judge of it. So I'm just going to sit and watch. I mean, I have my plans already set. I mean, it actually doesn't matter what happens because I'm in HEX for the most part. And I already knew that I needed to hold for a long time with Pulse and PulseX. And I only got involved in Pulse and PulseX because I had HEX. And I wanted a new chain. It wasn't because I was interested in L1s. Otherwise, I would have chased all the L1s, right?
Right.
I mean, in retrospect, it sounds stupid, right? Like, why wouldn't you want ETH? Why wouldn't you, I don't know. I can't tell you it makes complete sense after the fact because so many things did so well. But there's so many things that didn't either. But in any case, I mean, my plan A is get to the end of 24, assess as we're going along, but get to the end of 24, reassess.
It's a good plan. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to speculate on things that are way down the road, but realistically, it's constant reassessment, right? And you can get like a macro picture, an idea of kind of like where you think things are going to go. But as far as the strength of those moves, I don't have a crystal ball. That's some crazy predictive stuff that's beyond me to be able to call that. But shorter term, moves, when you think something's at a bottom or at a local top, those are a little easier to consider. And then you've got your black swan events or your huge pumpamental thing. Like all of a sudden, like what do you think would happen to the entire Richard Hart ecosystem if a week from now there is an announcement that the SEC just dropped the case? Like no one's expecting something like that, right? And then if something like that came along, I would imagine that would probably be a giant pump, right? It's like, and then people would sell off that pump, and then it would add volatility. So good news or bad, I'm not Nostradamus, so I can't predict what those things are going to be. But we're here for it. We're strapped in. We're Cuatro Cinco Club guys, right?
Yeah. Even though my hex bags are packed and I'm like just about fully staked, I guess the reason why I care so much about the short term is just I want to have a longer runway so that I can try to make contributions to the DeFi space, to covering Hex and Pulse Chain, but also bringing about this idea, trying to pitch to technology companies this idea of crypto and mental health, about time locking, about paying yourself using a blockchain that has low fees, using Pulse Chain, using wrapped hex stakes as something that can generate yield. These are all things I think that are really important for the future. But it's like there's only so much time in the day, and so if my dry powder dwindles and I don't have money to live on, then I'll have to retire from retirement and go back to work doing something that doesn't scale as much as I hope this crypto stuff does. And the streams that we've been doing on this channel, today's the third birthday of the Matty Allen YouTube channel.
We saw your tweet, man. Congratulations. That's super cool.
Well, thanks. And we just had the first birthday. We had the first birthday of ChrispyMan's channel this week.
Woohoo! Nice. Woohoo! Yeah, man. I just realized that when I saw it.
I saw yours, and then I checked.
Yeah, I was like a year. This is crazy.
That's awesome.
And the numbers that we pull in when we have these special guests, and we have our routine, always being here on Tuesday nights for this audience, it's really incredible. We had over 7K views on Axis, the Axis live stream that we did a couple weeks ago, and that was that's including Twitter views. But I mean, he
has a big draw.
Yeah. Well, I'll reiterate it. I'm seeing the What Did Bitcoin Do podcast that has over 100K subs. They're getting 8K views when they have a super popular economist on that has a couple 100,000 subscribers on Twitter. So I think, are crushing it in our weight class, over our weight class. And that's that feels really good that we must be doing something right. And it's like, maybe the point of this show isn't to educate people who are brand new, but the fact that the people who have been watching and who are subscribed keep coming back in crazy numbers. I mean, you've got the What Bitcoin Did podcast having an 8% subscriber to viewer rate on a recent video. And then, this channel, Hex channels in general, getting like a 50% engagement rate is I think really special.
Well, here's what I would say about that, right? We've got 555,000% more reasons to come back and listen to Matty Allen streams, right? Meaning this, right? When I look, so if I look at Bitcoin just in general, right, and most other protocols that are out there, they always need to attract the new people because they're not as sticky, right? A lot of people who get burned walk away, right? And so it's always the new people that they need to attract to add to the people who stuck around. Now, I suppose the same applies to Hex, except that many of the miners who might feel like they got burned by Hex, right? They're still here. Why? They still have their miners. And so there's a great number of them, you know.
Yeah, and the way crypto goes, we don't know if people who are staked for another 6 months or 6 years or 15 years uh, could come back to see massive gains or number go down further. But either way, it's still pretty engaging, and the community that's been built seems to be unique compared to the rest of crypto.
Well, and I think something else it's interesting to watch people kind of catch up to it. And I don't know if it's that they're catching up because they didn't understand it or if they just forgot it because there was, we're in a bear market. Things are like not as exciting with Hex. Hex, even when it was like full on running, yeah, that was exciting. But when Hex wasn't like on its parabolic bull run, just staking and chilling kind of is boring. Like as far as crypto goes, it's a pretty boring coin, right? It's like
God, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like just watching paint dry, and it's like it's beautiful.
It
Like I
is.
mean, it's great watching your everything build up over time, but it's not as spicy as like I see the orange guys going off in the chat,
I'm
and
horribly
I'll
offended.
I'll,
You guys don't think Hex is exciting? What?
yeah, I mean, if you understand the longer term delayed gratification implications of what it can do, and you can zoom out that far and really embrace it, which most people can't, quite frankly, then no, it's just fucking boring. And so I
Yeah.
think so. My long-winded point is basically that I think people got distracted, and even with stuff like dip catchers things, right? It's like and this is one of the things I was really curious because it's like being the analytic guy that he is, I bet he's got numbers on it. But I was really curious because the argument for that and other things that were kind of the derivative plays of Hex were that, hey, this is good for hexagons and it is an easier entry than trying to explain TShares and everything else because it's a coin that can sell anytime. It's it's a derivative of staked Hex, yada yada yada. And and I'm really curious, like how many new people really did it bring to Hex, right? It's like, and how many were just hexagons where that money got spread around? And then same with Hedron and same with Icosa. And it's like, I'm certainly not shitting on any of those things, but those things are like the least of the evils, if you want to call any of them evil, that's not Hex. But then you go into like the meme coins and the other things that people want to play around with. And yeah, it's like, does it bring traffic to the chain? There's arguments pro and con for that kind of stuff. But the point that I'm trying to laboriously get to is that I think slowly people are coming back around to acknowledge that Pulse Chain lives and dies by EHEX and PHEX performance. I mean, I really genuinely believe that. It's like, I mean, unless there's something else that comes and adopts, uses Pulse Chain as their platform and really becomes a stellar performer, that's not going to be enough. I mean, I really feel like, all of it lives and dies with what Hex does. And as people start to realize, like, oh, wait, do you know how I pump my Maxi? Do you know how I pump my Deci? Do you know how I pump my Hedron? Do you know how I pump my Icosa? Do you know how I pump my Ink? Do you know how I pump my Pulse? Do you know how I pump my PulseX? By Hex. You buy Hex and you stake it on both chains, and it's like, that's the core of it. And I think, the people that are aware of it and kind of have discounted it to go and dabble in these other things. Because it's like, I was going to talk to Dipcatcher. I had a base stake that ended. I had a team stake that ended. I did their diamond hands thing. It's like, I've got Hedron, I've got Icosa, I've got all the derivative stuff, right? So, I'm not trying to wag a finger at anyone. I think it's just notable that a lot of people have done those things, and how much different would things have been had all of that energy had been focused on educating about the power of TShares and Hex. Where would we be at this point? I don't know. I don't know, but it's good to see that people are starting to understand the connection, and that, you know, the thing that I've always been preaching, you know, I'm never one to tell someone else to do what to do with their money. If you want, I mean, buy whatever you want. It's your money, you earned it. It's like, if you want to go full degen, it's like, I've done those things. I get it. You know, but it's like, at the end of the day, I think people need to understand the reason, especially people that you see playing at bigger levels. They've got a substantial HEX staking ladder backing them up. So that's where that confidence comes from. And maybe even the means to do some of these other things they're doing. So, you know, be aware of that. And it's like, it's kind of like, do as they do and not as they say, because otherwise you're what's coming out of the meat grinder while there's somebody else turning the crank, right? So just, you know, be aware. Thank you.
Be aware, people. ChrispyMan?
I really don't even know how to follow up on that.
Do you think that it should be all HEX, or?
Oh, I'm not saying that.
We should be spread. Okay, well, I think it should be all HEX.
Well, I'll tell. I do too. I mean, but that's not the cards, right? That we were given. I had the opportunity. I said this to you a few weeks ago. I had that opportunity during the the pre-bridge. I probably coulda, woulda, shoulda just moved everything into X that I wanted to. But, you know, I wanted to be exposed to all of them. I did enough though, so I think that's it. But in terms of attention, anything I talk about that isn't HEX takes energy and focus away from HEX. And I'm not saying that if other people do that, that's good or bad. What I'm saying is that I recognize that that's the case, right? And I understand more fully why, you know, Richard will quite often say, hey, listen, I'm not going to talk about anything else. I'm only going to talk about HEX, because that's the token to focus on. Because I see it all the day with all my friends, right? What they're doing, they're chasing everything, man. It's a free for all, right? Going every direction. And then even on top of that, even makes that worse, is that that's just talking about something, never mind actually doing something, right? And so but I also acknowledge that this is reality. This is crypto. It's DeFi. I don't get to tell somebody they can't make another token, right? Can't tell them they can't make a contract. It's up to them to do what they want to do, and people can vote with their feet and do what they want to do, right? So I can only do what I want to do, and kind of focus there.
Yep. Yeah, it's like what is it? Shit, not philosophical, but theoretical versus like real world, right? I mean, real world, we're seeing it. It's like what's happening is what happens in the real world, you know, and people are going to go do and make all these other things. And, you know, and that's where like Randy Hilarski put a tweet out today that I liked and I didn't like. And like part of it was that, you know, he was saying that he was kind of happy that people were embracing non-RH things, and that, you know, that's kind of what we need to do as a community, kind of like, you know, carry the torch, and that he would partially be okay if Richard never came back. So that was the part that I didn't like so much, because I feel like there is a little bit of, you know, like mom yelling from the front porch, like, hey, don't do that. You know, it's like, get in here. You know, it's like we need a little, I feel like the community might need a little come to Jesus, because I feel like the message has been diluted a bit, much like the economic energy has been diluted.
I agree with you, but I also disagree, right? I think that those of us who choose to be HEX centric need to circle the wagons and do our recruiting.
Oh yeah, I can agree with that.
I think it's because here's the thing: I have to wear two hats, man. You do too, right?
Yep.
I got to wear two hats. I got to wear the hat that's a HEX hat, and I got to wear the Pulse Chain hat, and everything that comes with that. And there's all sorts of like kind of in betweens, right?
This wasn't planned.
And we need both. I like this. That's nice. But we need both, right? You can't just be like, well, screw Pulse Chain, right? I mean, I can if I'm just this little part of this little community that just focus on Hex, right? Because I don't have the reach into everybody else, right? And I don't think Pulse Chain can exist without Hex, right? And that's probably less to do with how things work in the world, more to do with how core we are, right? I mean, you essentially, if Hex doesn't exist, most of the base that currently exists for Pulse Chain is out. All right. So anyway, I think we're stuck with at least these two groupings, right? And I see it with I do these streams almost daily now on mining, and there's a core group of people who are interested, and there's another group of people that are like, you're crazy. Richard Hart said it himself. Price appreciation beats staking, right? I hear that all the time, right? I don't know if he actually said that, but it's something to the effect that you could have held liquid and done pretty well, right? But I'm like, I have this whole other viewpoint, man. I'm doing retirement planning, I'm not trying to time the cycle. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it depends whether you're playing a long-term or short-term game, I guess. And you need both types. But I mean, this idea that Pulse Chain can't be successful without non-RH projects is like, that's fine for somebody to think that. I think whether it's true or not kind of depends on your vantage point. Like, were you somebody who found Hex early, who suffered through all of the hate, who came out the other side and, represented, who appreciates the trustless yield and the long-term nature and everything? I mean, I remember a time when Tangent gave a beautiful speech about shut up if you're not talking about Hex and you think you're helping, but if you really wanted to help, then you wouldn't be scamming yourself and everybody else, and you would just get the gains that you could get without diluting the Hex community that is standing for Hex. And I love Tangent, and I'll go into the spaces even when he's talking about other stuff. Doesn't mean we can't be friends, but he's not giving that same speech anymore. He's talking about all the cool stuff he can see on Pulse Chain, which that's great for him, and that's great for those projects. But I don't know that it's great for Pulse Chain. I think the way that Pulse Chain becomes successful is not from these meme grifts that keep popping up that everybody's talking about. If there was and we would know what's good for Pulse Chain because it would pump the price of Pulse Chain. It would, and we know that what that would be is people bridging their value from Ethereum to Pulse Chain, or people depositing lots of money into the Pulse Chain bridge from their bank account or from Ethereum. Like, that's what actually technically, like in real life, creates value on Pulse Chain. And the projects, that's a layer of it. You want to have projects that are hopefully doing good, that are taking advantage of the low fee situation. And I'll give you an example that I discovered here just yesterday. I was realizing that I had some accounts, some like test accounts I had used before that I wasn't keeping track of, and I had $100 of USDC trapped on Binance Chain. I had been using Binance Chain before Pulse Chain was even announced, so this was like super old funds, and I didn't even have enough Binance tokens to run a transaction. I didn't know how to bridge out. I remember it being a huge pain in the past, and so I kind of was hanging my head in despair, thinking that I'll never get this $100 out. And then I remembered this little project that was built on Pulse Chain called PortalX Swap.io, which I guess was built by these liquid loans guys or somebody. But
was that the liquid loans guys, or was that Power City? I know
Power
Jesse
City,
was
whoever.
Jesse was involved at some point because he talked me through it. Yeah.
Yeah. That shit works so well. It's so awesome. It literally brings value into Pulse Chain because you can do a cross-chain swap, super low fee, cross-chain swap, and I could directly change my USDC on Binance into Ethereum, into Pulse Chain, into some token on Pulse Chain, some token on Ethereum. That shit was really cool. And I used it a few times yesterday and it worked super well. And I was pretty surprised.
Well, see, Maddie, I think this kind of goes back to the boring thing, right? Because it's like, what do people get more value from? Watching David Attenborough talk about the blue planet and the behavior of the cuttlefish, for a 2-hour segment, or
they're so cute.
Or the Kardashians, right? It's like, what's going to get the views? It's like the Kardashians are going to get the views, even though you're going to come away with more value from watching David Attenborough, which I love that stuff. I just watched that today. And but not everybody is down with that. So that's the thing, is like to try to punch through the noise of the other stuff without looking like, Wilfred Brimley eating his oatmeal, being like an old fuddy-duddy, just bored. I got the diabetes, and you got to be careful with them meme coins. You're going to lose all your money, kids. And it's like, and then people just think that you're, a boomer or whatever, and they just discount you, or you're, but we know the math and we understand, and that's why this kind of stuff gets us excited. And it's a matter of, the meme communities and these other people that are doing this stuff. How many of them are hexagons? How many of them have healthy staking ladders, but they don't talk about it? Because that's the stuff that gets people to kind of glaze over, or they don't like the pushback. Like, yeah, look at the chart, man. The chart looks like dog shit. But if they took the time to explain to their communities, the importance of TShares and how, vital it is to the overall RH ecosystem, and how it's important, like, hey, if you want to go play over here, that's fine, and do that and make your gains, but like, where are you going to store the gains? What's the best store of value? Another meme coin? The one that you made all your gains in? How many meme coins like last forever? Look at the Doge chart. Look at SHIB. Look at all of them. It's like, they eventually they come down, right? And maybe you get lucky and you make a 40x or a 400x. Like, I think the Axis token did like a 400x or something crazy.
Woo-hoo.
So it's like, so maybe you do
Way
that,
more
and
than
maybe
that.
and yeah, maybe even more. I don't know, but it's like, maybe you make those gains there, but then what do you do with them? Do you just go back to the casino and like pull the handle on the slot machine one more time and hope that you can ramp it up? I've watched that in real life at casinos, where people like will make a stack. They will be at the blackjack table and get on a phenomenal run, and they'll have like 20 grand in front of them, and it's like, bro, walk away. It's like, come back another day, start like you did before with your $1,000 and see what you can run it into. And they will sit there and they will give every bit of it back, and then you'll see them go onto the cage to get more cash. And it's like, and it's the same thing in crypto. It's like, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's straight gambling, and that's fine. I like gambling. It's like, I was thinking about going to the casino today, to be frank. It's like, I enjoy it. So I'm not disparaging it at all. I'm just saying, balance it, right? It's like, and then that way you can do it and it's not so dire. Like, if you go out there and you fuck around with your meme coins, or I'm at the blackjack table and drop, $500, I'm not crushed like I was, when $500 was my rent, right? And it's like, oh God, I really needed to double that up today, and I didn't, right? It's like, I've got the stability of a healthy bag of RH tokens. I'm providing liquidity on PulseX. I'm validating, I got my staking ladder. It's like, so I can go fuck around on this other stuff. I don't talk about it because I don't want to encourage people to just take the Kardashian part of my conversation and ignore the David Attenborough part, right?
For sure.
Crispy is a boss. That Pulse player. Well pointed out.
I'm no boss, man. I'm a blue collar working kind of guy. Well, I guess not. Maybe not. The HEX stuff isn't so blue collar anymore, but Yeah,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wish I was getting gains like Dipcatcher is. He did a challenge going from 1 million pulse starting at $100. He's already up to 225 million worth of pulse, which is like
What did he start with?
He did a 225x in 2 months.
Nice.
On this $100 portfolio that he started. So he's up to like 11K.
Nice.
Even though Pulse is down 60%, and he's trying to ride it all the way up to the 1000x, just crushing it with every trade. So shout out to him. We talked about that actually he didn't know how much he was up, and so there was a reaction live when we were streaming earlier today.
That's cool. What leverage is he using?
He did take the number one spot on
oh, okay. So he's
famous or fiat or whatever that is. But the majority of his gains came from the Axis Alive token and a few other plays he was basing most of his trades have been based on just recognizing people doing good work in the space and people supporting him. So he would support them back and then make outrageous gains. So
yep.
Cool.
That's a cool story.
Actually, that's a pretty good strategy. I did that as we came in with all these. There was a lot of different things that happened. Different people were offering different ways we could claim coming in. All of those really well chosen tokens have done phenomenally well. That's not to say other things haven't done well, but I mean, I like that. I like his approach because I think doing that type of support is good.
So who created the Axis token?
So Axis did, actually, right?
Oh, did he? Okay.
I mean, we did it off of Go Pulse, right?
Oh, right. I thought you were involved with that.
Yeah. So so you guys remember Funding Jim? Gary?
So are you a billionaire now,
oh, yeah.
Crispy?
Yeah.
Are you on paper a billionaire?
Not even on paper, man. So of course, Funding Jim did a pretty good service. I realized that somebody might have had mixed feelings about it, but he created these tokens, right?
And he did like 30 of them, I think.
Yeah, 30 of them as an educational thing. And of course, I looked at that and I was like, I really need a token, right? And my thinking at the time was, and I think I mentioned it here once or twice. I mean, it's just not something I'm out shilling or anything, right? But I created the token because I wanted to learn about how things go. I figured to help with a brand or whatever. I had no plans, right? I just, like a dunce, just went and created something. Well, anyways, Axis also has his own token, and a bunch of other people have their own tokens, and there's more new tokens coming. Right? So there's all this stuff going on. But so while mine's more focused on, the one that I create is more focused on learning about LP and ultimately how I manage my stuff. Right? That's why I did it. But now I took on the goddamn job. Now I have another job, right? Because now I have to be the protector of the system, right? Even if it is only a few people, right? I think it's like 40 people on the token, right? And so it's not even a lot of people. But Axis went a different route with his, and you'll probably talk to him about it. He'll give you the full scoop. But he's using it as an educational tool. He does all this TA stuff and these courses and LP courses with Sloth and everything. So they put that one together, or the way he's approached it has been to use as an educational tool. And that's what he's been doing. And then along the way, lots and lots of people got super interested in it. So early on, and this is Hart's Law. This is probably the number one lesson that I learned out of all this, because I haven't been talking about Hexfire because you guys don't know about it much, right? You don't even come to mind.
That's a token? You have a token?
Thanks, Toby. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it so much. So
try to catch up here, Toby.
Here's the thing is when he had his supply and he put up LP for Axis, I went and bought Axis on the market, right? And so I bought several hundreds of them, right? And then I turned around and what did I do with them? I LP'd them and dropped them in LP. And then I replenished the LP because I had no idea this was going to happen. Like I didn't know it was going to hit $9,000, $10,000. And so anyway, so I created this very heavy, thick liquidity bond that's still in place. So now if you go look at the two charts, they look the same, except that except buyer, the Hexfire IO token lags way behind. You know that, and then and along with that is I did this, and I'm talking about the Hexfire thing, but I'll get back to Axis. And so what did I do with that token? I started matching it up with other tokens that I want to see do well, like COM, a couple other things. And then with this whole Atropa PDI thing went down, then all of a sudden light bulbs started going off, understanding, wait a minute, I see how this is working. Why opening up a LP pool against another token, keeping it active for a period of time, stranding the LP, opening another one creates value. I'm not a proponent of that, but I'm just saying I understand what's going on now because
Right.
I actually had the opportunity to run the LP on this stuff. So anyways, going all the way back to what Axis is doing, yeah, I mean he's talking about it. It's out there. It's a token, the Axis Alive token, and using it for airdrops and stuff like that with his community, supporting his community, people participating. So, but yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I don't know, went up to $9,000 while we were sitting here.
It's
So
crazy.
people, and it always comes back to the same stuff. I got the question yesterday in one of the chats. Somebody said, "I see you're in this COM chat. What gives COM its value? Why isn't it a go down only coin?" Well, people buy it. I don't know. The narrative is it's scarce, right? We all have narratives for stuff. It's scarce. Access is scarce. All these tokens are scarce. Why do they go up? People want to buy them. They want to buy them. Why do they want to buy them? There's a narrative. It isn't necessarily that there's some groundbreaking, you buy this token, you get a ticket to freaking Mars or something. It's really comes down mostly to us as a community and somebody making markets. So anyways, I don't know. I probably didn't answer any question yet. Let's regroup, go back. What are you asking about, Toby? What are you
Well, I
thinking
just
about
saw
Axis?
Hexkin Hill, who I love we haven't met in person, but he's great on Twitter. And he was asking for us to talk about Axis token, and I don't know a lot about it. I just remember briefly you and he speaking about it when we had him on. What was it, last week? And I knew that you were affiliated in some way, but I couldn't quite remember to what degree or exactly how, because we covered a lot of ground that night.
Yeah. So I got involved with LP on that, and actually, and what's crazy, Toby, right, is I don't even have to go. I have to go check because I'm not looking at it. What's my the Hexfire? This just goes to show why my market cap is bull crap, right? I think my market
Right.
cap on Hexfire is 500,000 or something now, and Axis is like $1 billion or 5 billion or something like that. What's it say?
Wow.
Yeah, Axis is 6.23 billion. 6.23 billion.
Not too shabby.
It's crazy.
No, but it doesn't just
So on
illustrate.
paper, you are a monster.
No, I don't own that much, man. I wish I did. But I didn't, I was content just doing what I'm doing,
So you said, well, hang on, Crispy. You said you bought hundreds of them. So it's like, did you dump on people's heads?
Yeah. But when you LP,
today?
what happens? That's why I had to keep refilling.
Right.
I had to keep refilling the LP because I went back and looked, and I was like, how many did I buy?
Because you're losing your pulse.
Yeah, but of course,
Gotcha.
At the time, I don't know what the price was. I have to go look, but it was pennies, right? So it wasn't like I was spending a bunch of pulse on it. I was just buying them and throwing them into the LP.
Damn, the liquidity's up to 100K.
Yeah. Well, I think between the Axis and Fire pair, which is the Fire's all funny money, right? Because it's on paper, it's like 700. It's like 200K. Is the
Crazy.
it's just that pair. So it's going up pretty good. Yeah. So the market cap on fire went all the way up to 500K. But here's the thing, right? It's I hope this is no
the
surprise
chart.
to
Yeah, the
anybody
chart
listening.
looks almost The chart looks almost identical. I mean, it's like obviously it didn't get 10K, but it's like as far as the shape of the chart, it's like that's interesting.
Hard
sense.
slaw, right?
I'm learning.
And like Big Boy
Yeah,
saying
right.
here, like Big Boy saying, I'm lagging for some reason. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing anything on my end, but like Big Boy Garms is saying in here, yeah, this is like if I go try to pull all of that out and sell it, right? There's not the liquidity to do that. There's not $500,000 worth. You know, it's like a 99.9%. Anyways, it just kind of illustrates the whole situation with all of this, you know, in crypto, and just why it is important to go look at not only the LP, but the volume, the action, and, you know, to understand exactly what's going on, because otherwise you might be the guy that buys in. The other thing, you know, and then the price drops. The other thing I recognize too, and I'm really a novice at all this. These guys know a lot more than I do, like the dip catcher and these guys on the LPs and stuff. I heard people use terms like predatory, you know, market makers. I didn't understand it. Now I understand it, right? You know, because if you're out there providing, like, you know, you wake up one day, you're doing some sort of LP on a token, not one that you don't control, right? And you wake up one day and you figure out, hey, wait a minute, what happened to all the liquidity? Why do I hold 100% of liquidity, right? Prime opportunity to get wrecked as the market maker, because, you know, if all the other participants left you and you're sitting there with the entire LP, well, you're about to get a big pile of tokens that maybe you like, maybe you don't like, and you're going to lose all your pulse, whatever's on the other side. And so just things like that actually do happen. You know, I mean, like I've seen that happen a couple times now with different things. Give me a whole different insight, you know, emotionally and you know, logically about it, because I can say a lot of the right words, but I didn't understand them. Like, oh yeah, if you like both coins and permanent loss, got it. Yeah.
Well, that's a really good lesson, and I'm glad people are out there learning so much about how LP works, because it's one thing to understand theoretically, and then it's a whole different thing to see the variables and be able to play with them yourself. There are some variables that you can't observe yourself if you're not the one providing the liquidity. I definitely learned a lot from Funding Jim's experiment. Now, I would have loved the 2 or 3 Axis tokens that I bought from Funding Jim's experiment to have gone up, you know, 1 trillion% or whatever, and for each of those to be worth $9,000 each, right? That'd be pretty sweet. But
well,
I'm not that lucky.
What happened to your Axis? What'd you do with it? You said you bought 2?
Yeah, the Funding Jim Axis coins that started at $1 and pretty much stayed at $1, you know, whatever.
The Matty Allin ones, right?
It didn't have anything to do with me, but Funding Jim created 33 tokens.
Yeah.
One of them was an Axis token, I believe.
One of them was Axis.
I bought everybody's token
yeah.
and ended up breaking even on it or something. And then you all come along and you create a different Axis token and you all get to buy it and I don't, right? I'm just pointing out the unfairness that I was first to buy an Axis token. Everybody else gets rich.
I didn't even know another Axis token was created.
Maybe. No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
Pretty sure.
Can you check to see if a hex fire one was created too? Because I don't think
there was not a hex fire.
I see how this is. But,
yeah, it's not fair, is it?
No, and here on top of all this, now here I'm violating what I just said a few minutes ago, right? Which is I talk about other stuff, yada yada yada. Now we look at other stuff and we put energy in the wrong place. That's why I haven't been talking about it at all. But it is fascinating It is fascinating that in a controlled, kind of like a controlled circumstance, that Hart's law works the way it works. And in the macro, I've been seeing that, I don't know if it's the same observation you have, Toby, but things are so closely tied together across all the pulse chain. Man, it feels like 2017 all
Right.
over again. I mean, I look at the chart, everything's green, everything's going up. You know, some things go up a little bit, some things go up a lot, and then boom, you know, an hour later, everything's red. Everything's going except for access stuff.
Yep.
Everything's red and going down, and my emotions are going all over the place. But I'm enjoying it because I like the volatility, and so it's almost like fly fishing or something. And you got the spinner, man, and just attracting people that are going to come running into this thing, you know, pulse chain that is, because they're going to see all this action, all these green coins, and people like it. You know, they like the money.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like, well, I mean, that's, I mean, case in point to what I was talking about earlier is that, you know, it's Attenborough versus Kim Kardashian, you know, so it's like people are so enamored with that booty that they don't learn what the stodgy old British guy is trying to teach you. So, you know, I kind of equate us to the stodgy old British guy where, you know, that gets lost in the conversation. And even us, it's like, you know, I'll clock Kardashian's ass. You know what I mean? I'll look too.
Hold
Because
up,
it's hard not
Toby.
to look at.
You're
You know,
lagging
but
right
it's,
now and talking
yes.
about Kim Kardashian's
Now I'm
ass.
lagging.
I will point out what I'm hearing you
Yes.
say. The lesson of the episode is that somebody needs to create an Attenborough coin. That's what I'm hearing.
There you go. Cuttlefish coin. I'm going to drop out and back in, see if it'll fix my lag.
Perfect.
I thought it was me.
And then there's somebody in the chat like making a bunch of noise about why they didn't get their highest of stakes t-shirt that they ordered. I don't know. Ask the highest of stakes. Why don't you message them on their Twitter and stop harassing us?
Am I lagging for you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to answer. I'll get to it when I get to it, but you know, but I'm not part of that team. I'm not shipping. I'm not shipping any shirts. So, all right. I guess I might be feeling tired. Maybe I'm not making any sense. But maybe I can ask you, did what I say make sense about these tokens, at least from my perspective?
Totally. Everything you said made sense and added to the conversation. I know I've asked you questions offline about your experiences, liquidity providing, but I feel like so there might have been a little bit of repeat there, but I think the conversation that you just you just educated people maybe in a way that they haven't heard before on this channel. So I appreciate that.
Well, I hope that's helpful, and hopefully I'm consistent with my story.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, but it has been interesting. I'll tell you, that scared me when I came back the other day, and my I was like 99% of the LP, right? So one of the takebacks from that, I had an aha moment about, oh, so this is how rug pulls might happen, right? So if you don't have conviction that, let's say you're supporting the HEX token, right, which is what we've seen, right, and we've seen some very big players put a lot of value in and hold the price, right? What happens when they don't want to take it anymore? What happens when they run out? Right? There's only so much. What happens when we're DeFi Netsians, right? Do what we want, right? But what happens when we finally wear them out? Well, price goes down. That's what we have now, right?
Because what you're saying is that otherwise they would have to keep adding at the new ratio, which might not be where they want to be selling or buying at, right? And they would have to add both sides in some cases, and adding both sides of presumably a coin that they haven't created themselves on both sides is something that isn't cheap to do. Now, when we try to analyze what's going on with like this Atropa PDI like conspiracy madness. I think it's much more likely that it's a group of shadowy coders that are, uh, able to create both tokens or created both tokens in the past. And so they can provide both sides. And then if they create a new thing, then they can pair it with the other things that they've made that they've got a large supply of, and then they don't run out. So not saying that I know that that's how Atropa works, because I don't know, but that's how liquidity pools work. So
Well, you can, yeah, but you can see it, right? I mean,
you can see it.
I mean, you can conclude it from going and verifying it yourself. Is what you end up with is sort of like a fractional reserve banking situation, right? How is it that, multiple tokens can go up in value and have a market cap? I mean, because it's a market cap, but it is based on the price. But how do they end up with a price that's not backed by anything, right? Or backed by very little value? It's because it's been able to be built up in a way that it's now kind of like stuck in the system. But as soon as you poke a pin in it, that can deflate all over the place down to whatever the residual value is. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that I can think off the top of my head that could explain this a hell of a lot better than me, so I should be quiet. But I'm just kind of relating my experience from it, that I'm becoming enlightened, and I'm listening to a lot of people trying to learn.
Cool. Yeah, that's helpful, because we're all learning at different levels of experience.
Indeed. All that Kim Kardashian stuff blew up my system. So
yeah,
enough of that.
There's probably some software that recognizes that.
Yeah, right.
Has anybody been playing with leverage?
Not yet. I was actually
the no-nos.
I thought about going over there and playing around a little bit. I provided some liquidity over there, because I had some fame tokens, so I was messing around with that a little bit.
It's not indicated for people who have addictive personalities.
It is not.
No,
it is not. So I've steered clear of it thus far, but I thought it might be fun to take $100 and go play around.
Okay, well, if you're tempted to lose your entire stack leverage trading, remember, time pays me before it's too late.
Yep.
If you suddenly become spontaneous, if your degeneracy 30x's, then you'll know you need help.
Dude, I saw a dude try to sell a Rolex at a blackjack table. Like, he was just so out of his mind. Like, he had had a phenomenal run. He had over 100K in front of him. He blew it all, like, within 45 minutes. Like, he got on this huge run. It took him like 3-4 hours of grinding. 45 minutes later, he was back down to nothing. And like, he went to try to like get more money, and for whatever reason he couldn't get any money out, so he came back, and he was literally trying to sell his Rolex to people at the table. Like, man, it's like, I just need a nut. He was like, I just need something to get back in the game, to get this back. And it's like, and everybody was like, bro, you just need to go home. But it's nuts. I mean, people, it happens. And so yeah, definitely contraindicated for people with addictive personalities.
I saw that this week on Twitter. Ben Armstrong's ex, he put his Rolex up for sale, and it was scratched to hell. And some major meme lords were bidding on it. I think it's going to go for about $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy
but it
stuff.
was really, really in bad shape for only being a year old. It was very memeable. Let me see if I can find a picture of it.
The guy can't win for losing. Even beat up his Rolex.
Oh, and then there's this giant debate. Everybody on Twitter is losing their shit over this guy. 2 companies are releasing like wearable pendants that record all the audio around you and then create like an AI that can help you remember what you were saying to different people. And there's a lot of commentary for and against it.
Right. Yeah, that would be kind of crazy. I just find being painfully honest to work, because then you don't have to keep track of what you say to anyone, because it's all the truth.
There you go.
So for good or bad, oh God, yeah, that's a little rough. God, look at that band, dude. What the hell? Do you know what that is? That's reaching in and out of his pocket a billion times to get his lighter for the. Well,
We don't need to say that.
No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. But
Yikes.
yeah, it's definitely got some wear and tear there on the year-old Rolex.
Oyster date. Or just date. Yeah, oyster perpetual.
Well, when you use it for crab fishing, that happens too, you know.
Well, he definitely experienced some crabs in a bucket situation, it seems. So, yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Probably half the people don't know that that you can actually go fishing for crabs. I guess it's not called fishing, it's crabbing, with a string, something metal at the end, and a piece of chicken on it, right?
Mhm.
And the crabs will just jump right on there, and you pull them up. So for those of you who have never been to the ocean, that's what crabbing's all about. That's what it's like. Not this Alaskan stuff I'm talking about. You know, you just want to go get some crabs.
People are talking about self-worth in the chat. I love to see that.
Yeah, I was just reading that same thing.
Appreciate
Yeah, you
it.
know crypto truth. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the best thing you can invest in is yourself, or lady, or they, whatever you are.
Yep.
The best thing you can do is invest in yourself.
Believe in Yourself was asking about the Highest Stakes group, and thought they were based in England, but they are not. They're based on the West Coast.
That's right.
Oh, you want to hear a segue?
Sure.
This is quarter four. We in quarter four, right? October, November, December. Yeah, Q4, right? I'm doing my financial planning, right? And I'm looking at stuff. This made me crack up. There's a big debate, you know, in TradFi as to whether or not following something like FIRE, you know, I like financial independence, retire early, is okay, or really whether you should be doing some other methods. And but anyways, the difference is between, should you really be committing to withdrawing 4% a year, or should you be doing 6? And then you let 6% of your of whatever your assets are. This is typically when you're retired anyways, you're selling, you know, a certain amount of assets per year. And then I think about crypto, and I think, you know, 6% is like an hourly occurrence sometimes, you know.
Yeah, right.
As far as how things are volatile and how much better you could do this. And that's what I'm trying to prove. I guess I'll let you know soon. I'll let you know soon if I'm successful. But I'm trying to prove that, you know, I can augment my passive income reliably through crypto over cycles. That's what I'm trying to prove. And I know there's some people already believe that for sure because they've done it, but I'm trying to prove it to myself, I guess, and to my family and friends who all think I'm still nuts.
Right.
Are you still in that HEX thing? Yeah.
Yeah, my future father-in-law, I should say, asks my fiance regularly, "Is Toby okay?" Like, he's just like,
Are you doing okay?
Is he doing all right? You know.
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna know?
A family member who asked me about crypto this weekend. We were out to dinner and like, I said, yeah, I was doing pretty good. I got my income stream set up with this. And he says, isn't that stuff that has to stay locked and you don't have access to it? I said, yes. I had to explain the whole CD ladder thing, which he fully understood.
Yep.
I mean, most people have been exposed to that. I mean, I still, I know I'm in the minority, guys, but I'm going to still keep talking about it. I think it's the greatest invention ever, man. I'm just over the top. The idea that 4 years ago I could be buying HEX at a really cheap price making a mining staking ladder for 15 years, and that at appreciated prices, it pays well over what somebody makes, minimum wage. Right? And so why is that a bad thing? I can't find a fault in that. And here I am at another bottom. Okay, sure, I didn't time things well. I didn't make it so everything came out at the top. But that wasn't my plan. That wasn't my original plan, because my plan A is I'm here for 15 years, right? Now I guess I'm here for 19 years, since we're 4 years in almost.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so what does this look like if the cycles kind of look like they do like this in the future? Does that mean that instead of it being, 4 zeros and a 3, now we're at, a half a penny, or 2 zeros or 3, or a penny, depending how you want to look at it? But now 4 years from now, it's at what, 4 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents? I don't know. I mean, how happy am I going to be then? Because, and then on top of it, if I do take it, or, if I scrape or I take it out, I lose the future yield, which opens up for all these nice people to get their own. Right? I mean, so they can pick up my TShares,
I was
Oh,
hoping you were gonna say Hex was the greatest invention and not CD ladders.
Well, I meant HEX. Let me re-clarify, or let me clarify. I was talking about HEX being the greatest invention ever, not CD ladders, because I don't get much for my CD ladders. But yeah, I have. I did put something. You want to see something I put together?
Let's see.
You saw the stream. You already saw the stream. Is there anything from that stream that I did today that would be useful on this channel tonight?
Yeah.
Well, which part did you like?
I mean, most of the stuff that you talk about on there is I see value in sharing here. Did we even show last week the fish swimming around? Did we show that?
No, man, I haven't shown anybody that.
No.
Okay, so there's that, and then the stuff you were talking about today while I was running errands seemed to be related to the all-in indicator and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just kind of going through the millionaire stakers. And
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
list looks like, and how many of them that we have. Let me see if the fish is up to date. Because I put the aquarium out there, and I haven't been back to work on it this week.
I mean, even if it's out of date, I think it's a really cool visualization. Good reason for people to subscribe to your Patreon. $5 a month. Let's go, people.
Let's see if they're swimming. Yeah, they're swimming. All right, let me grab the link. Yeah, listen, sometimes you come back to an aquarium, they're all dead.
That happens.
You guys are going to like this.
Yeah, I'm probably messing up. I need to do, I'm going to close down some things while I'm waiting for this to load up.
I'm going to tell people it's not too late to buy the HEX DeLorean. It's still for sale. And great deal. One of the best preserved DeLoreans in the world. Actually comes with an extra set of tires that were originally came out of the factory. So it's not only got like only 5,700 miles on it, but it's also got the original tires in good condition from the factory. It's a sight to behold. So definitely hit me up on Twitter or YouTube to let me know if you're a whale, you're watching this, you're drowning in money, you don't know what to do, you want to support me by purchasing this amazing DeLorean with delivery anywhere in the United States.
Nice.
I hope somebody buys it and keeps it in the family, so to speak.
And if we don't have any takers here in the community, which I'd be surprised, then I'm going to offer it to Jack Levin and say he better not set it on fire. And then if that doesn't work, well, I might not do that. I might just pass it on to somebody in the DeLorean Midwest family here. But one way or another, I'm going to going to convert it into crypto, convert it into the ability to not sell the crypto I have, and then send it to the future, where hopefully crypto will be so valuable I'll be able to buy another one for a fraction of the cost. But
There you go. It's a super cool car. I was fortunate enough to be around it a fair amount in Daytona and ride in it a bit. And yeah, I would love to have that car, but not in the cards for me currently.
all right, well,
but I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, hopefully we get this MetaMask airdrop or something, right?
Yeah.
See,
right.
but if we got a MetaMask airdrop, then I probably wouldn't have to sell it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I hope you do
that
get
would be nice. That would be cool. I went down that rabbit hole a bit myself, so it'd be cool if we got an airdrop.
Well,
from that.
now you can't swap HEX really on MetaMask, so I'm not actively pursuing it. Go to cow.fi, COW.fi to buy your EHEX.
I did that just the other day for the first time. It's super fun. There's a little game you can play, cow jumping over stuff.
Totally. So what do we have here? This looks fascinating. There's a for the people who are listening.
Yeah, so this is
turn on
me.
Your screen. There's two fish tanks here.
Can you hear me okay though?
Yes. Can you hear me?
On my screen and frozen. This is a little intensive. So what was I doing here? So I have a visual that I thought would be useful maybe to visualize some things. It's just fun to do. So what we're looking at are miners from each chain that actually have HEX stakes they're waiting to end. The numbers you see are the number of TShares. Okay. And so the more TShares, the larger the fish, right? And then the ones that are short stake, they swim faster than the ones that are long stake. So it's just kind of like a little fun visual to see.
Cool.
See what's what.
It's clever.
And by so you can look, and it actually, because I added the because I added in the y-axis, we can actually stratify them into cool crabs and dolphins and just see them. And I thought about contacting the company because these aren't obviously dolphins, right? So I'm limited, but I can go, we get them to add some other ones. Like if I wanted to see the whales, there'd be a whale swimming around in here, right? If I wanted to see sharks, I could see sharks.
That's so cool.
And the relative size of them, so it's fun. So anybody knows baby shark, you get it. This could be exciting and fun. It's just a way to kind of visualize this data and see what's what. In the perfect world, something like this is up and running, seamless works. You click on it, it shows you all sorts of information about the stakes. Navigates over to that particular one. Oh, and the other thing I did on this is I did segregate them. Segregation's still a thing. Not that kind of segregation, guys. On the left-hand side, it's the miners who are going up in TShares count over time, and the ones on the right are the ones going down.
In the bad tank.
Yeah, that's right. And so I have this is kind of a work in progress. So it's meant to be that the ones on the right will be shades of red and orange when I'm done.
Cool.
And the ones on the left will be green and happy colors, things like that.
Big Kahuna says, "Nice when desktop background." Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, wouldn't be that fun? That'd be fun to have a background like that. Certainly you could have something static that's copied. That's easy enough to do. But being connected and showing you real data would be fun.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
So this is the big fish thing. I thought that it's just interesting what you can do with things. Probably should be talking to somebody like Kool-Aid to get connected with the right people who can do those kinds of animations. I'm just not. Yeah, I'm good at doing thumbnails now because I have AI.
What do you use?
I'm using that.
Midjourney,
Yeah, Midjourney.
Stable Diffusion.
No, Midjourney. I got the subscription, connected it up to my chat, and I just go tell it what kind of. For some reason, I ended up picking up the idea of wanting squirrels. Right? It's because I talk about squirrels so much. So I have a squirrel as a as kind of like as a mascot, and that's because I have squirrel friends. Right? Everybody needs squirrel friends, so I have squirrel friends. Right? And they live in the backyard, and apparently they might be older than me because they can live really old, right? And they're also very intelligent and whatnot. And I talk to them and try to teach them stuff. Eventually, I'll get them to come over and see me. But there's a little bit of a confluence between the fact that I'm out playing with squirrels in the backyard feeding them, and red squirrel coming into my chat all the time. And so for some reason, it just made sense for me to start using squirrels, as a theme. So the squirrel in a way, the nuts for winter, right?
Very distinctive. Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect branding, so it's probably pretty terrible branding, in that way. But hey, I didn't come here for the branding. All right, so let's look at, let me show you the Millionaire stuff real quick, and then
Let's see it.
you guys can tell me how much you want to talk about what.
BitBoy said he created the most millionaires out of any crypto channel, and we beg to differ.
Oh, that's for damn sure.
Probably Richard Hart, but I guess it depends. Well, no, everybody in BitBoy's channel lost money because that's why they don't watch him anymore. So here we go.
So you see my squirrel? That's not a rat. Nobody call him a rat. He's a little sensitive to that.
Got it.
That is a squirrel. So this is what Midjourney kind of sees when you say to it, "Hey, give me a photo of a happy squirrel who's wearing a top hat and is a millionaire."
Okay.
This is what a millionaire squirrel wearing a top hat looks like, right?
That's funny.
Yeah. So what I was going after this one, I think I'm going to do this millionaire stream weekly.
Nice.
Because frankly, people apparently like the word millionaire, just like they like the hashtag billionaire. So
yep.
But just kind of keep up to date. So I'm open to suggestions because I can do this in tons of ways. But I just started digging into the data to see what we had, and right now, as of today, anyways, across both chains, if you took a look at people who are doing mining only, not liquid, and not the OA, we have 168 addresses that would qualify as millionaire addresses. And that means they have enough HEX in principle, plus their current rewards. If you add it all up, it's worth over $1 million. Right?
Cool.
So that's what we're looking at there. And then I wanted to go take a look at EHEX and PHEX to see how many we had on each. Where they're only on each. And there's 44 of them on EHEX and 107 on PX. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. Makes sense, right? Price is double the price, right? On the Pulse chain,
yep,
and so a lot more qualify for it. So it goes there, and then on each chain where somebody individually has addresses, their address has 1 million on both chains, right? Like I said, you can slice and dice this stuff a million ways. There's just 44 of those. And again, that makes sense because it would have to be probably all the ones that still are millionaires on EHEX would be the ones that qualify on the other. So it's the lower limit of the subset. And then I put in the amount of value that they control. Now, of course, that's paper. We do have the data to estimate what their emergency end stake value would be. I know a lot of people interested in that, so they could see what really they could get out of the system at the moment. But I find this to be a little more, I like this better because more bullish and exciting.
So this is how much these guys are going to cash out someday, huh?
Probably a lot more
than
than
current
that.
prices.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah,
current
right.
prices. Yeah.
Or it could be less if they rebuy their TShares. Only time will tell.
Well, maybe it would be more if they rebuy their T-shirts. Or are you saying if they don't?
I'm saying at a minimum. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it's it's all on paper and it's all to be decided. You know, how popular will HEX be and how much will people appreciate trustless yields and the premier store of value in crypto. I mean, Bitcoin's kind of like a dumb rock these days. And who likes paying tens of thousands of dollars and still only getting a fraction of a coin? I don't.
Let me ask you this. Well, this. I think I ended this today when I did the stream. 10x the price. 10x the price. How many millionaires we got?
10x the millionaires.
10x the millionaires. Roughly, a little bit less than that, but over 1,400 people would enter the ranks, right? Just at 10x the price. And so, for those who are trying to analyze why we have as many people that are downtrodden and kind of feeling beat up and all that kind of stuff, it's because of that, right? I mean, we all know people that have been involved. Okay, I'm not a shark guy or big dolphin or something, but it's not unreasonable to think that somebody was floating around up in the clouds with 100 million in value, you know. And then we went through this dip, and they're looking at 99% less, right? Or or they were at $1 million, and they're down at 100,000, whatever it is, right? You can definitely understand. I can understand, anyways, why people were so affected by the sudden anti-wealth syndrome, right? Because we went totally the other way.
Yeah. Sudden Down syndrome.
Yeah. Not to be confused with other
Yeah,
things.
not to be confused. And we've got
With actual announcement, right.
we've got our special guest here tonight joining us for 3 words here.
Hey.
Great energy, fam.
Sami.
Your friend Sami. Thanks for stopping by.
I love Sami.
Yeah, Sami. I've been missing his streams the last couple of days because I've been busy doing work and stuff. But I've been using his streams as a way to kind of keep me pumped up and going.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
He's great.
I wake up in the morning. I'm like, "Where's my Sami? Where's my Sami?"
That's right.
I
Informative
can't.
and funny is hard to maintain,
Oh, he's funny, all right.
and he does it very well. Oh yeah,
Very informative.
cracks me up
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah. Well, I thought about trying to copy him, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. I just can't. I just don't. I don't have the intellect in that way to be that way. So I'm gonna do my own thing. But I thought it was. But I've been really enjoying his stuff for sure.
I mean, if you want to compete with Sami, you're going to need 5 hearts of friendship and kindness. You're going to need 4 ice cubes. You're going to have to string all of those concepts together. Two fluffy slippers, one
I'll take
straight back.
Get
It's like
your
all
pointy
these
elbows.
concepts are related and give you like the secret sauce, right? There's always a secret message in what Sami's saying. You just have to follow the memes, connect the dots.
Yes,
right.
Sami. You got to connect the dots. Well, I love the things he's been talking about for sure, because just the things we all know that everybody pretends aren't true. Like the people sell bottoms, unfortunately, and whales buy them, unfortunately, or fortunately, it's just the way it is, right? I mean, these cycles and how things go, and just how, I don't know. I don't know. It starts sounding like conspiracy stuff, but markets are what they are, right? People, they manufacture things that happen sometimes, right?
Markets are wild. That's for sure. That's why we all stay tuned in, is because we don't know what'll happen next.
Yep.
Not for the faint of heart.
So Maddie, this is the stuff I started working. I haven't gotten deep into it.
Cool.
But this is just some high level numbers that I thought would be kind of cool to start getting on one sheet of paper, being able to see. Now, keep in mind, I cut the what I think are the OA addresses out of this. Right? But we see about 16 million TShares, between both chains, 7.98 on ETH, 8 on Pulse Chain. We look at T-share remaining days, though. This was interesting, that they're so close still. But total
Wow.
T-share days remaining is, for each one of the T-shares that exists out there, multiply it by its remaining days, because that gives you your RSI, let's start using those terms. How about that? Your relative strength index, right? But it gives you a relative strength of what those shares are, and that's what you're talking about all the time, is about how do you build on this and grow. But it's about the same on each chain. Not surprising, right? I think at the moment, but it is just a tiny bit smaller on Pulse Chain now. So both 18.53 billion T-share HEX days remaining. And then I've got the mining values up there. You guys
Well,
don't need me to read
and
everything to you.
the other thing about that second piece of data is that you've got like what I got 50,000, 60,000 extra T-shares on Pulse Chain compared to Ethereum, but then the numbers are almost equal in terms of the amount of days that are left, and so
Yes.
that makes you think that what people might be staking shorter or less.
Well, I mean, I think there's some narrative out there that people are capitulating heavily. And I know we see the penalties and people believe the narrative, but I don't see it in the number of T-shares. So if we had huge minor capitulation, I would be expecting to see, 10 million T-shares a day disappear, a million disappear a day, 500,000. That would be those kind of numbers, big numbers, right? That would be capitulation. What I see is just the normal grind of right at the moment that some people get out, and I base that on the fact that we have overall it's about 4 million a day is the average, right? So it's not uncommon to have 4 or 5 million a day, right? Now I don't think it's a good idea for people to do that,
4
but
or
they all
5
have
million
those.
hacks
Yeah,
to be
hex. Yeah, a day.
EES.
Yeah. But they do what they're going to do. So yeah. So I think what we're seeing is that we're seeing similar drawdowns on both chains, except on Pulse Chain, with all these new miners coming in and these new stakes that are getting created. They're very short, which also was supported by the idea that we're seeing less than 2 years on average for these new stakes that are coming in. So we just have lots and lots of very short staking now. So those billion numbers, I won't bore everybody with all these charts. I just kind of pie charted them out. But I get to the money here. This is the big takeaway. So and this is kind of like the beginning, maybe digging deeper into this concept that you had, Maddie, about using the all-in kind of scoring to figure out things like when people are going to drop out, when they're going to change position, that type of thing. So this is a little bit of the beginning of that. So what I did is I took all the addresses in HEX on both chains. We've got one list, and I added up all of their T-shares that they had combined for both chains, right? So now we have an address and we have the number of T-shares, right? I ranked them one through 400,000, whatever it is, right? So I ranked them all. And so I have them in ranked order by the number of T-shares that they own, which isn't crazy, right? The first one you can't see who it is, but that's Bay, Bay 3, I think it is, or something. I can't remember the number, but it's the one address that we've seen floating around a lot, and a couple of them are Godwill addresses. So that was the first thing I did, is I ranked that. And then the next thing I did is I added up all of their remaining days, their remaining T-share days, right? And then I created that rank, and so the spacing's probably off a little bit, but the first column there is what you see 1 through 16, right? Yeah, or actually really the second one. The first one after the address is labeled 1 through 16 because that's by T-shares. But when you get to the all-in ranking, It's 1 through what? 18? Wait a minute. There's these other numbers mixed in between. Well, what's happened is this: is we get down to a certain number. You get down to um, actually many of them. You get down even a couple of them. In terms of relative strength, the number one position, in terms of TShares, yeah, is the same as the all-in rank. Number two position is a little shorter than number three.
Yeah.
Right. So their total is a little bit different. Right. And because number three is a little longer, they're really the number two in terms of earning power, earning rewards. Right. And so I did highlight 4 of them to kind of illustrate down here. And so if I go down to the 8th ranked one, well, they're actually very short in the overall compared to the others in their T-share times, that they have an all-in ranking that's out further. It's like double out at 15. So they're really ranked 15, Wapner, right? You get the Wapner reference? And then, so if you look at number 8, or that's number 8, you look at number 9, and you see very similar thing, right? They're really in position 12.
Yeah.
In terms of relative strength. So it's just kind of like digging into like who's really earning the rewards, the lion's share of the rewards, because the game again is whenever you choose to exit the game, your game is to have the most HEX. And so how do you make that happen? And that's the game. So
well, and if it becomes so valuable that you can keep your money in the system, then the longer that you locked from the beginning, the better off you were, to some extent. And the more that you can make, especially we know that the maddest of gains in a compound interest system happen at the end. And the way that HEX was designed rewards people with more compound interest the longer that they lock. Even if you come back and restake, you can do okay, but not as well as you would have done if you had staked longer in the first place. And the longer we get into the 15 years, the more of a difference that we'll see in locking longer, paying better than shorter stakes. So,
well, it really is an IQ test.
Yeah.
Yeah, people find that offensive, but I mean, you either believe or you don't believe in what we're doing with this, or what the contract does, because I'm not doing anything. But I mean, you either believe it or you don't believe it. I don't know if you've caught some of this, but I've been tracking on a weekly basis. There are people that when they end their miners, even if they do restake everything, they got to go out 30, 40, 50% longer just to get the same number of T-shares. And I think that's a very super important point. And sometimes they get to put in 5, 10% more HEX if they don't, right? And I think that it's going to take some more time because we're only 4 years into this for new people to readily believe that they have an opportunity to take our place. Right? Because they just don't understand yet, because they're new and they're just beginning to look at the numbers, that I have 100 T-shares coming out next month. They're gone. They're gone. Once they come out, they're gone. Right? Unless I go out longer and commit to the system longer, locking up the HEX for even longer, including the new yield or the new rewards, which now generate even more payout for everybody, or I go on the market and they get more HEX and put it in. So anyways, it's a confluence of things. And I had somebody on the X come back and just got Johnny Sachs. I don't know if you know Johnny, but he's out there. He tweets a lot. Come out and kind of question why I'm showing a forecast of T-shares going down over time.
Mhm.
And his viewpoint is we should all be looking for us to see mass adoption and for it to go up. And so I thought about that. This says like, well, come on, man, it's going to be going down for 4 years. right? So, but so I said, well, okay, instead of no, why not? Why not? Why not? So what would it take? What would it take? And I went and did the calc. So I won't bore you guys with the visuals, but I looked at what we would need to do. You know, we're losing in the in the next month. I expect that we'll lose probably 37,000 T-shares, right? And if you want to keep the same number of T-shares, we need someone to buy 37,000 more T-shares. And if you want to have an uptrend on T-shares, then you got to buy like 70,000 T-shares.
Get
And
going.
you know, you can, if now this just gives you an idea just how big this is. So if you took 500 million, this is probably true. You'd have to look at the numbers when they come out. But if you took 500 million hex every month and you staked it for 5 years, every month we come up with demand for 500 million more for 5 years, we'd be on an uptrend. We'd probably be on an uptrend. But
Until you couldn't do it anymore.
until you couldn't do it anymore to get max, right? But here's the thing: who has 500 million hex? Right? There are people in the system that have it. Right? There's probably a upper limit with the OA, right? Because the OA owns a certain amount, unless they decided to go ahead and do it. You know. So in other words, you know, we have this deflationary effect, and it's going to continue, but we might mute it a little bit. You know, slow it down a little bit. But it would require, you know, some really significant energy to be put into the system. And the reason I went why not with it is I want adoption. I don't, you know, I don't want to be, I don't need to defend the position that we're not going to have more adoption. I mean, I think we will. I just don't know if that adoption will overwhelm the share count. And so we have a very nice confluence of, you know, share rate going up and the number of T-shares coming down and the payout going to the moon. You know, where maybe maybe we'd be looking at, you know, 10, 12, you know, in 4 or 5 years per day. You know, maybe we'll be looking at 20 in 15 years. Really no way of telling right now, but man, it's been going up pretty nice. So.
That sounds like a plan. Let's do it. One way or another, these things are going to become more scarce and more valuable. We hope so.
They're going to be scarce regardless. That's for sure.
Hell yeah. It's programmed in the code.
Well, it is. I use Toby's quote quite a bit when I do my streams about, sometimes this is like watching paint dry, but I like watching paint dry. So, I mean, man, you want to see something move slow, go watch the T-share rate. Stare at that chart all day and see what it does. Maybe if you're lucky, 3 times a day it goes up a little bit. And then once in a while, there's some big, huge up. It's paint drying for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
You look tired, man.
Paint doesn't pay me either. So that's
time does.
That's the big difference there. That's right.
Time does.
Well, yeah, I streamed a couple hours here earlier today with Dipcatcher, and now it's been a couple hours here. So I don't have anything else. Do you guys? Toby, you're muted.
I think we covered some good ground tonight. So
good stuff.
I'm satisfied.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you, Toby.
Right back at you, Chris.
Yeah.
You guys, both you guys. It's always a pleasure being able to come. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get motivated because, you know, life gets in the way. But I never regret being able to be on with you guys. I always come away feeling a ton better. And then the people in the chat also just make my day. So appreciate the people that are watching. Yep.
Well, you know, a lot of our folks, guys and ladies out there, they don't have anybody to talk to about any of this.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
So it's really important to at least have some connection to somebody, you know, with this stuff.
Amen to that.
Where can people find you guys?
I am mostly on the X, as Crispy called it. I like that because it's like an X just feels weird. So the X at Tobiwan_Hexobi. Tweeting my brains out occasionally and lurking most of the time. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Doing it up. Xfire.io, at Xfire.io, on both the YouTubes and the X's. How about that?
That's right.
Go about this. Go to Hexfire.io for the website.
You can find all my content at allmylinks.com/allin and at Matty MATI all in on just about everything on Twitter and YouTube. You can get go to the link in the description below to get a hardware wallet that I would recommend. I think the company is coming out with something new, but I'm not allowed to talk about it yet until I can. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna see if Ledger has anything up their sleeve here one of these days. And check out the Dip Catcher episode if you haven't caught it yet. That's a good one. Can't miss.
I'm gonna go watch it.
It was really good.
Yes.
Oh my God. I love that part.
So people clip it too. And yeah, so I'll be streaming for Hex Therapy Live here on Thursday, and then we'll be back next week with another special guest. Until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
Stay crispy. Goodbye.